I looked around and I looked where I was and I said, wow, how come I've never been here before? And it felt like home to me. Living here in the desert, eventually walking around, being with the animals, being with the plants, understanding the crisis that we're coming to with the earth, climate change, and how we haven't really taken care of the earth, I began to develop this other passion, and that was, for the ecology and for, what are we going to do? You can come in if you want. We slowly began to devote this house to permaculture and to ecology. And so that's what it is. It's quite experimental. It's our own way of doing it. But I feel like each person, one at a time, has to do what they can. And then little by little, the basket will be woven, because we have to learn to live with the earth, to take care of it. We've abused it. And so this is my attempt at doing what I can. It's a demonstration site about how to grow food in the desert. And there's so many, and also how to use our resources. I'm learning. I'm just learning. At my age, I'm not young. I've never had a farm. I've never grown food. So it's all a big, it's a big learning curve. It's so like, I'm so lucky I have Damian and I've had such good teachers and everything. It's just from the intention that we need to do this. I took a permaculture course eventually from a really wonderful teacher, Warren Brush, who had directly learned from Bill Mollison, a very amazing person who is in Africa much of the time, working in villages, getting people to learn to clean up their water, to grow food, It's really about looking at the patterns of nature. And the more I learned about permaculture, the more I thought, well, that course was the inspiration. We have this place. I used to live at this house. I was so fortunate, the very bottom of the market, to get another house that's behind the Harrison house. So we slowly began to devote this house to permaculture and to ecology. In 2000, I came to Joshua Tree with the composer Lou Harrison, whose dream it was to build a straw bale house in the desert. 3 short years later, the house would be completed, Lou would pass away, and somehow I ended up with the house. I actually purchased it from a friend who inherited it, because I inherited the contents of it and I was quite close to Lou. The house that Lou built was had a special acoustic room for music. And for many, many years, he and I had gone to concerts together, because I'm a concert producer by profession. He had always dreamed, everywhere we went, he would critique a concert hall and what the music sounded like and what the problem was with the architecture and the design. And so for many, many years, it was his dream to make a beautiful place to hear acoustic music. And finally, at the end of his life, he was 85, and it took so many years to permit it, to get straw, to be quantified as a viable building material. I'm going to shoot this. Okay. That's the truth window. Straw bales houses are supposed to have a truth window. Yeah. There is so much life in the desert. It's a mistake for people to think there's no life here. It's really a mistake. And the fact that they want to put, solar fields, or just put it in the desert, is ridiculous, because there are huge carbon sinks. There's mycelium that are communicating between roots. They're taking the carbon and they put them in a bubble and it keeps it. So when you disturb the desert, when you walk across pristine desert, that's hundreds of years to redo that. Hello, good morning. I think art and ecology go hand in hand. Who's the best artist? Nature. Much of the art around here, it's about being mindful about how you place things. I came to the conclusion at some point, the difference between art and junk is how you place it. I love the summer here. The summer nights, you get up with the sunrise and you do your chores, and by 9:30 or 10 you're in. And you can come out again at, 6 o'clock or something like that, and have another few hours. And but the night is so beautiful here, and you're just out and enjoying a sunset, or sleeping under the stars at night, and the Milky Way is over. It's so beautiful. So I love the summer here. We were so fortunate when this site was starting. A very amazing artist, Dominique Moody, came. She had just spent 6 years completing a tiny house that was made almost entirely out of recycled materials, as much as could have been. And this was her dream, to be a mobile artist in residence. So she pulled her tiny house up, parked it in the back, just at the beginnings of this project. It was such a blessing to have Dominique here as a really quintessential artist. There's a whole desert, it seems like a desert art form of you find things and you make something out of it, and so there's a huge site here that Noah Purifoy created, and Dominique was kind of in his lineage, so she wanted to come to Joshua Tree to do an homage to Noah Purifoy, and she did that here on this site. So it's just flowering. We're going to have so many berries, and it's like a goji berry. It's the native goji berry. And we'll be able to dry them. We'll eat them like raisins, because these plants are not that old, and they're going to get really big. This is the first year we're getting a big crop. everybody's hungry. You know, all the critters are hungry. They're like, oh, you planted this for me? So it's number one, you know, how to protect and share, because you need to share. We're all here together. And number two, it's the water and it's the harsh conditions, you know, so how to use the resources you have to the best ability. And number two, to find things that are native, that are acclimated. Don't try to grow things that aren't intended for this climate. We have a whole portion of our garden that's very protected and caged to grow the delicate greens and things like that that everybody would like to have, that we're trying to save. And we're trying to grow with wicking beds. We just put some seeds in here. So we've just been harvesting. And basically, so with the wicking beds, you water it and it's gravel up until here. And when the gravel is filled up, it'll come out here. And that's how these plants wick water from below. We have sort of 3 planting areas. We're also trying to plant natives and propagate seeds, reuse seeds that are, you know, many generations, because each generation they get more acclimated to where they are. Using gray water to grow things like fruit trees and olives. I'm doing as much as I can. I have a wonderful, wonderful partner in Damian Lester. Damian and his wife have their own permaculture farm and she teaches children. But I think it's really, reaching out to the young people is really important. We do courses, people from the neighborhood have come, and so little by little by little I share food. And whatever you grow is lessening the carbon footprint. I didn't think we could ever do it, but we're doing it, feeding a lot of people from this garden when we have gatherings. It's really important to share it, and it's real food. So much of permaculture is a combination of new knowledge, but really going back to ancient knowledge. How did ancient peoples live on the earth before there was electricity and lights and cars and all of that? And you begin to understand, oh my goodness, it's not natural for us to be having bright lights all night. You know, there's a reason there's daylight and nighttime, and how the humans and the animals and the plants all evolved to live in concert with it. And so as humans, somehow, we keep trying to change the chemistry of the earth. We keep trying to change the light patterns of the earth. And it's sort of time to take a step back, observe what we're given, and be respectful of it and use it well. We do a lot of community gatherings here. With COVID, of course, it's been really different, so we created a community pod here. We had young people sheltering in place here during COVID from like 14 different countries. People, young people came. And so we had our own little community going, and the garden really benefited from that. A lot of new garden beds were dug and a lot of new things were planted and so forth. So believe me, I'm here by myself today while Tassi's here. This has been a real community effort, this whole place.